Excellence is not only being real about what you think is quality, it's about being real about what the market says is quality. And those might be two different things. Hey, dreamers, welcome back to the Dreaming Forward podcast. I am so excited for this month. It's the month of June, and it's actually going to be the last month of episodes for season 2. I thought long and hard about what I wanted to say for season 2 to close it out, and a couple things came to mind. Some of them I'm actually going to save for season 3. But the topic that I thought would be a good closeout, especially as we reach the halfway point of the year, is the concept of efficiency versus excellence. Efficiency versus excellence. This is a concept that I teach in my courses for small business owners as they seek to grow and scale. And it's something that most people assume that they understand, but I get the chance to show it to them in a very different light. A little bit of background about me. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I'm a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. And the concept of efficiency and managing waste is such a huge part of that particular paradigm and school of thought. The Lean Six Sigma system was, of course, based in manufacturing, specifically with Toyota. It's quite old, very well respected, but I have been applying it in human resources capacities for, I would say, about 10 years now. And again, it's something that people normally kind of relegate to one area of business, particularly around operations and especially with manufacturing of products. However, it can be applied to any area of business. And that's what I want to share with you all this month. I'm going to break it down with each episode focusing on a different aspect of efficiency versus excellence. And I thought it would be helpful to start with speaking about excellence. We'll talk about efficiency in one of the later episodes. And I wanted to start with excellence because I personally don't believe that you can become more efficient unless you have set your benchmark, unless you have set your standard for what excellence looks like. Because how will you manage waste if you have no idea of what the best or ideal state looks like? So with that being said, excellence in the context that we'll be discussing related to business leadership, entrepreneurship, deals more with how you are able to continuously improve. So if you think about the concept of continuous improvement, so much of continuous improvement hinges on the idea that you are always looking for ways. So preventive and being proactive to look for ways to become a better version of yourself, whatever that means. And this is really important because I think sometimes in business or in team leadership, we get very complacent because it's a lot to manage. It's a lot to deal with when you're running a business. It's a lot to deal with when you're managing a team. But if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what it looks like to become even just a little bit better, you will quickly become obsolete. And contrary to what we think, becoming obsolete is a slow creep. If you think about companies like Blockbuster, Kodak before the recent resurgence, ironically, and some other legacy once blue chip companies, their slow creep to becoming obsolete was the result of a series of bad decisions. So what are the decisions that you're making today that are driving you toward becoming obsolete versus becoming better? Do you even know what better looks like? Would you know how to course correct if you realized that you were not operating at your best? Who do you trust to give you the signals that you're becoming obsolete or that you're not operating at your best capacity? So I want to bring up a couple of keywords, and I'm going to be looking at a deck because, again, this is a part of a training that I give to clients. And I want to really hone in on these keywords to start us off. These keywords include systems thinking, quality, and sustainability. So when you hear systems thinking, what comes to mind for you? So for me, as an organizational psychologist, systems thinking is a very concrete concept because it is the idea that nothing in business and nothing in a company happens in a silo. It may feel siloed, but Nothing happens just completely on its own. Everything is connected to something else. And your responsibility as a business leader is to recognize what is the impact of all of those pieces that fit together. So, this is the person whose job you feel like is just completely disposable. What would happen if that person was no longer here? The system or app or platform that you use that you feel is just wasting so much money or it's not doing anything for you, have you assessed what would happen if you all completely cut it out without looking for a suitable alternative? All of this is related to excellence, because excellence means that you not only can change systems, but more importantly, you can identify and understand all the parts of a system before you get to the point of wanting to change it. If I'm changing things that I don't understand, I am only going to engineer chaos. So you all know I've talked in the past about my jobs, especially my jobs in government. And invariably, there's always a couple of people on the team that folks feel are like Milton from Office Space, if y'all remember that movie. And it's like, oh, that person's so disposable, or they just get on our nerves, not realizing that either that person's organizational and institutional knowledge, that person's experience and very specific skill set, sometimes that person's likability and the network that they've built, it could be that person's understanding of systems is invaluable to the team. And sometimes people have been so good at their basic, boring job that you don't even realize what all they bring to the table. So if you think about a car, we love to hear, the roar of the motor. We pay attention to things like if the windshield wipers are working. But when was the last time you checked to verify that the back seat vent on the passenger side was working? Unless you have kids or people are back there, you're not noticing that it works. But what if that thing malfunctioning was actually a signal that there was an issue with another major part of your car? And because that's something that's easy for you to dismiss or ignore, you don't pay attention to, you're missing what is actually a major sign that trouble is afoot. And it's that same concept when you think about the people on the team. Every person on the team has value. And if the person on the team doesn't have value, then you need to assess, is it because the role no longer has value? And so we need to find another way to reskill them? Or is it because that person is inappropriately placed in that role and we either need to upskill them or coach them out of the organization? But either way, it's not acceptable as a leader to just sit with the idea that like, that's so-and-so, they don't matter. It's not okay. All right, so let's move on to talk about quality. Standards of quality vary in every industry. So what is high quality in one industry may be considered low quality in another. And it's up to you to understand what is quality for you based on where you are currently in the market, your market positioning, and where you want to go. So I'm going to give an example. I obviously do a lot of management consulting, training, and coaching. There is almost no barriers to entry. Like anybody could wake up tomorrow and say, I'm an executive coach. I am a consultant. Well, you can't say you're an organizational psychologist. So there are some barriers to that legally. But you could wake up and say that you're a management consultant. You could wake up and say that you're a trainer. What separates me from my peers is, first of all, what I choose to train and coach on, who I choose to train and coach, and finally, the level of care and specificity and sophistication of my products and services. So if you think about quality for you, are you a company and are you a leader whose team produces bargain basement level products and services at a premium price or with a premium level of arrogance? Because if you haven't assessed where your quality levels fall in the market, you can almost forget it. Again, we're talking about excellence. Excellence is not only being real about what you think is quality, it's about being real about what the market says is quality. And those might be two different things. So I'm gonna keep spilling my own tea today because we finishing out the season. I realized about a year and a half ago, maybe, that I had a very antiquated, it was all manual process for sharing invoices. And I mean, it worked. It was like a little Word document. I change it and switch it up. But when I would look at other consultants, because at the time I was still work in-house places, I still had a 9 to 5 job, and other consultants, they would send theirs out electronically, and it was these really sophisticated systems, and I'm like, oh, I need to do that. Like, what the heck? Why I ain't doing that? And I realized that for the people who saw that, whether it was the accounts payable team or even my peers or supervisor, when they would see that, that added to the level of prestige that they assumed that that particular person in their company had. And I knew right then, oh, if I'm going to compete, I need to rethink my invoicing system. Now, sometimes the market can force you to go in a certain direction. So in my case, there are a lot of my clients, especially now that I'm working more so with corporate clients than startups, they use systems like Ariba or SAP. I think that's the same thing actually, but they have their own procurement systems that I have to register in, and so it just gets paid like that. But that was a point of note for me, though, to recognize that there is another level that I could be reaching that would then feed into my brand positioning, that would feed into my perception of excellence in the market. And again, you have to be aware of that because you might think that you're doing good. Maybe you are. I'm not saying that you're doing something bad, but you have to pressure test sometimes to make sure that you're really meeting the best standard that you can. All right, finally, sustainability. Having a great moment is much less important than having a great run. Again, having a great moment is much less important than having a great run. If you invest a lot of money into something that you can only do one time, unless the purpose of that was just strictly to do testing, you are engineering your own decline. Because when people get a taste of something and they love it, they want that all the time. And it's more frustrating to them to have tasted it and then had it taken away than it is for them to not have tasted it at all. So don't let people taste your amazing new product if it's going to take you another year to get your operations up so that you can produce that en masse. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't launch it at all, but what it means is that you're careful about how you present it to the world. So that could show up in a couple ways. If you're a product-based business or a product-based team, you may choose to push it out and launch it as something that is in limited quantity, or you say limited time only, or you could say it's a seasonal item. So you're already training the consumer to know this is not going to be available all the time. It's not available for everybody mass consumption just yet, but it might be. And that actually is a huge marketing employ. So if you think about the stuff when they come out with new things, I think of like the Shamrock Shake that comes out every St. Patrick's Day. And I think this funny story. I feel like I saw an article that somebody said they basically just the same shake. They just changed the color. And low key, it might be something to that, but I ain't gonna hate on McDonald's like that yet. But again, they get you excited because you're like, yes, it's almost March. Like soon as February 28th hitting, you geeked because you already know for the next couple of weeks you're gonna be able to get that green shake, right? It's the same thing for the peach shake. Chick-fil-A, come on the summertime, you geeked about it. So you can set up the idea of limited quantity, limited time, as a way to get people excited, but also manage the expectations of sustainability. If you're a service-based business, and I actually do this a lot, I'm clear with my clients when I'm launching something new. So I'll just tell them straight up, hey, I got this new training that I'm planning on launching. I got this new thing that I'm debuting. I would love to try it with y'all. Would you be open to it? And a lot of times because I have repeat business, they were like, yeah, because they are bought into my brand. And then I debut things sometimes on other platforms. So I might soft launch a concept or a word on LinkedIn in my content marketing. I might soft launch something on my podcast. Maybe I might mention things in some type of written content if I'm doing a guest feature. A lot of things that I pretty much was creating as a concept, to be honest, I fleshed out as I was creating my book, Evolution to Equity. And then when the book came out, there are certain concepts that are in there that I'm now taking that and then turning it into something else. So again, I don't want to give the impression, especially for my service-based folks, that you should never be debuting new things, you should never be testing things. But I am asking you to be honorable and have integrity with how you create the idea of sustainability, because the sustainability is not just if you can mass produce it and if you can keep the same quality over and over again. It is also in how you pitch it to the public to set up their expectations. There are tons of companies that disappoint. So if you think about when, okay, we'll stick with food for a second. They come out with some new dish at your favorite restaurant. You're like, yes, this is good. And so you come back, maybe that's your weekly thing. You unwind on Fridays, a happy hour with this particular type of food. And when it first came out, it was slamming. Within 6 months, that thing is nasty because they've gotten complacent and comfortable. And that happens with everything. That happens with so many things. That happens with systems. There are subscriptions that I've canceled to things using my business. I won't name names because when I first got it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. Again, systems thinking, sustainability, quality. Those are three aspects of excellence that are going to be key for your business. And here are some things to watch out for. Number one, it is hard to be excellent without the right collaboration. You probably are not going to be excellent alone. Where I have found my business just took off in various aspects of, you think about the 8 functional areas of a company. If there was a functional area that I knew needed to really, really get up in quality, really, really, I needed to push it and grow it, I wasn't going to get there on my own. I had to have mentors. Sometimes I had to outsource that work to understand what excellence looked like. Sometimes it was that I needed to partner with other people to be able to grow it. And this is where integrity is important too, because if you know it's not going to be a long-term partnership, tell people that, hey, I really just want to work with you for 30 days to learn Hey, I just want to work with you during tax season because I'm struggling with managing tax planning for my company. Hey, I really just want to work with you to get this website launched up. Can we just do this small engagement? That level of honesty helps other people to know where you stand, but it also helps you to preserve relationships. There are some people that I know I'm probably in it with them for the long haul. And then there are other people where it's like, no, this was just a brief interaction. But either way, for the time we were together, I was honest about that, and they got the best of me. People deserve to get the best of you if they're investing their best in you. And the last thing that I want to bring up as it relates to collaboration, or as it relates to excellence. So collaboration is one part, but the other part that I want to really, really push for you is the idea that it never stops. It never stops. You should always, always be looking for ways to become better. And I know I mentioned that at the beginning, but I have to keep reiterating it because you cannot afford to become complacent. You can't become complacent in your career. You cannot become complacent in the way that you run your company. You cannot become complacent in your relationships with your family and your loved ones, with your boo, with your friends. You can't become complacent with your health. You cannot become complacent in anything. Excellence is a standard. Excellence is a lifestyle. And when you pursue excellence in one area, you will naturally develop the muscle memory, the stamina, the commitment to being excellent in every single area of your life. Is it painful sometimes? Absolutely. I do not always have fun with seeing that I'm doing something wrong or knowing that I got to go find the right person to partner with. And I don't know. It's a lot to manage, but it's worth it. Because when you're able to see those milestones and watch and see, oh, I was doing that. Wow, but now I got to this. Okay, now I want to go here. There is a level of satiety, of gratitude that is just immeasurable. And I want that for you so bad. So tell me in the comments, what does excellence mean for you? And which aspect of excellence do you feel that you have the best grasp on? And what aspects do you feel like you need a lot of work? Again, systems design, sustainability, and quality. Which ones do you do great? Which ones do you need to work on? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Bye, Dreamers.